Hey, what's up, everyone? This is your boy James. Welcome back to the How to Learn Data Science in Python in DataCamp episode number 16. Today, we're just gonna keep going with the how to clean the data in the Python, and I believe it's heavily related to Panda Frame. So let's just dive into it.
Data comes in a wide variety of shapes and formats. Hadley Wickham wrote a paper about tidy data in 2014 that formalizes the way we can describe the shape of our data and gives us a goal when formatting our data. He states in his paper that tidy data provide a standard way to organize data values within a data set. There are many reasons why a standard approach to data cleaning is good, and a tidy data paper is worth the read to better understand how the shape of data fits into the various components of data analysis. Here's an imaginary experiment adapted from the tidy data paper. Each individual has a treatment value for each of the two possible treatments. Here's another representation of the same data. The information conveyed in the tables are exactly the same. This is why we need a more formal and standard way of describing the shape of our data. There are three principles of tidy data. The first is that columns represent separate variables. The second is that rows represent individual observations. And the last is that each type of observational unit forms a table. We won't cover the last point in this chapter. In our treatment data, the columns do not represent separate variables. They represent different values, A and B, for the variable treatment. We can reorganize the table of values into this new tidy format. Each observation will contain the name, the type of treatment, and its result. At first, the format of our data may be strange, and some may argue that the information is harder to ingest because it's not as easy to compare treatment differences for a particular person. But that's partially the point. There are data formats that are better for reporting and data formats that are better for analysis. If we aim to make our data tidy during the data cleaning process, we can fix common data problems along the way and be able to quickly transform data into different shapes as needed. Wickham defines the data problem we are trying to fix as columns containing values instead of variables. We fix this data problem by using the pandas function melt.
Yeah.
Here, I've saved the treatment data into a data frame named df. To melt our data, we first specify the data frame we want to use and which column or columns we want to hold constant. Here, we want the column that stores the names of people to be fixed, so we pass that into the ID vars parameter. The result is a melted data frame where we have a column called variable that holds the treatments and a column called value that holds the treatment values for a given individual. Melt has a parameter called value vars for you to specify which columns you want to melt. If you don't specify this parameter like we just did, Melt will use all the columns not specified in the ID vars parameter. The default variable column name is not always what we want. We can rename the new melted columns with the var name and value name parameters so we have more meaningful column names.
So I remember before I was learning R, this one tidy format is basically called long format. Another one he showed previously is called wide. So basically wide for each column you have each same variable but different like category. So the goal is to put all the category into one column. So you got that like treatment one, A, B, A, B in the same column and all have their corresponding values. In that case, for each column, it's actually a one variable. So that's the whole goal. So first, we want to recognize tidy data. Each variable as separate columns in the data frame. Each row separate observation. So, okay, what are we going to do here? Two example data sets have been reloaded into the data frame in df1 and df2. Okay. Only one is tidy. Your job is to explore the further shell. So basically, we want to figure out what df1. Let's say okay, df1s. So each one will be days. So okay, so this is tidy. Df2 is unstable variable. You know what? Change my well, like I think you can argue that. Okay, so each variable is separate column. So this one's actually not tidy. It's long, but not tidy. So two are not all separate observation. The row are not all separate observation. Which one's correct? No. Each variable is not a separate column. No. df2, each variable is not a separate column. Yep. Rows are not all separate observation. No. So, so note that variable on the df2 contains variable 1, 2, 3, solar, ozone temp, and wind speed. For it, by the tidy, they should be all in separate column in df1. So df1, this is long format, but it's actually like all mixed up. For a wide format, well, this is not wide format, but like each column have a one variable. So this is actually the way to go when you do the data analyze. Next, reshape your data use mode. Okay. So in this example, you will practice melting the data frame using the PD melt. So print the head of the what's that air quality? Is that already loaded? Let's just check it. I don't know. Okay, head is not defined, so I think it's a method. Let's do like this. Right. Okay, so this is the head, right? Melt is equal to pd dot melt. What's the syntax, guys? Do you remember syntax? So pd dot melt like you var id var. So this is like a key, right? Key equals to double quote. What do I want to hold constant? Represent column that do not want to melt. Okay, so the one we don't want to melt. What do we don't want to melt? We're going to do wish to melt into rows, for example, like variables. So here, what do we want to hold constant? Is that months? Is that days? To melt ozone, solar, wind, and temp. Do that by using ID to specify column you don't want to melt months and day. Okay. So are we gonna put a list here? Not quite sure the right syntax. So you put months day. Okay, that makes sense. You put months, but are you gonna use a list over here? So like, what are we gonna do? Like, maybe like this, and then you got the day, right? And then you syntax is the this is a value, so it's like the dictionary values, and then what are you gonna melt here? So you basically get everything. Okay. Ozone, like oxygen zone, right? Let's see. Let's solar R. Speed and the last one is temperature. All right, and we just print it out, right? Let's see. Missing one requirement frame df. Oh, okay, we need a df. Do. What's the syntax? I really don't remember. That df equals to something. Okay, seems like it's working. That df equals to. Oh, it's not. I think this one's right. Submit. And oh, one head. Okay, it seems right. So each column's the one variables and the months and days are like fixed. Oh, wait a second. So the meld is you practice meld the data from using the two separate issued. Meld is actually stocking all the variable into one columns. Okay. So we got slides over here. So let's see what's the syntax. Okay, let's shoot frame equals to dm. Okay. So frame equals this guy, right? Correct. Okay, customize the melt data. When melt data frame is better to having column names more meaningful than variables and values, right? So this is variables, this is values. So it's basically vast name, variable name, and the value name. So basically, we just want to give it name like to column name to measurement. So we change it to measurement. Measurement. Well, why are you hiding over there? 你口温的姐走的干嘛？ Oh, that's okay. Just grab your stuff and then I was like, why so quiet? Sorry, my mom is like cooking. She's visiting, by the way. So variable names. How long she's been waiting there? Sorry about that, mom. Variable names is like it's all done to worry about other people's opinion. So I know my channel's kind of just started, and sometimes you guys may thinking, hey, like you didn't explain this well, and leave it the comments in the comment section. I will improve next time. I promise. If you leave a comment and subscribe, of course. Okay, here and the default value column names the ratings. Okay, let's just put ratings over here. And then we're gonna print ahead air quality mail. Just do like this. And the run data here. Yeah, the first it's like this. It's the tidy version. Now it's like long version. Submit. So remember the column name is just var name, and then the value name is just like value name, just like value name, right? Okay, next, pivoting data.
The opposite process of melting is called pivot. In melting, we turn columns into rows. Now, in pivoting, we will take each unique value of a variable and turn them into separate columns. One reason we may want to pivot our data is to reshape our data from an analysis-friendly shape into a report-friendly shape, or when our data set violates a tidy data principle, where rows do not contain observations, specifically when multiple variables are stored in the same column. Here's an example from Hadley-Wickham's tidy data paper. We have a data set of min and max temperatures for a particular date. You can see how the min and max temperatures are reported in separate rows, causing the dates to be duplicated. We want a data set that gives us a date for each row. That is, a date is an individual observation, and for each date, we have the min and max temperatures. Here is the tidy data set after the element column is pivoted. You can now see how the new table follows the mantra of tidy data. Every row is an observation, and every column is a variable. To pivot our data, we call the pivot method on a data frame. We pass in the index to denote which column or columns we want to fix during the pivot. Next, we pass the columns keyword argument for the column we want to pivot into new columns. Finally, the values to be used to fill in the new columns created from the pivot. You may find that the pivot method will not always work. Here is our original weather dataset with another weather dataset I've saved as weather 2. The second dataset has a duplicate tmin for February 2nd, 2010 date value. If we simply use pivot on the second dataset, you'll get a value error saying that there will be duplicate entries and cannot be pivoted. That is, there are 2 tmin values for February 10th, 2010. Python has no idea how you want to reconcile duplicate values. This is when we use the pivot table method instead of pivot. The pivot table method allows us to provide a parameter that will tell Python how to aggregate these duplicate values. I'll show you how to take the average of the tmin values for February 10. Pivot table is very similar to pivot. We call the method on a data frame of interest. Pass in the values keyword argument for the values that will be used to fill our columns after our data is pivoted. The index represents which columns we want to fix during the pivot and the column we want to pivot. Finally, we need to address what happens when there are multiple entries for a given pivoted variable. We use the agfunc for aggregation function parameter to tell Python how to handle multiple values. Here I'm using the mean function from the NumPy library to take the average of the values. Now it's your turn to tidy data using the pivot method.
Okay, guys, let's do it. So pivot data, right? Like an air condition pivot data table. Let's just get the head first. Air quality note. Okay. Get the head like this. Guys, looks like this. So we got pivot table. So pd dot pivot table first index. Okay. So what is index? The days, months and days, obviously. You want to show at the beginning as an index, right? Okay. Columns, what are you gonna pivot for? The measurement, obviously, you want to measure. And value, obviously, is your reading. So, and you get this guy. Quality. So after pivot, you become tidy again. See? Okay, missing requirement data. What is data? So, is that free? Data equals to air quality melt. Are we gonna aggregate? Probably not here, I think. Monthly measure reading, okay. Great. Reset index, okay. So here category index, so as like a multi-index. Essentially, we allow you to group the row by index months as well as days reset index. You can use to get back. Is that like sorting? I'm not quite sure what that means, reset index. Oh, okay, so the order get messed up, I think. So first you got a pivot index. Let's see what it looks like. It's hard to watch. Reset the index by air quality pivot reset index. Don't know how that works, but I didn't see any difference to be honest. Do you guys see any resetted index over here? Is that this guy? Maybe. Let me show you how to use index in video, but now you're going to practice using exactly about original data frame. Okay. Print out the new index. Range index. Quite sure. What does that mean? Pivot reset. Maybe it's measurement. Oh, maybe it's months and days. Let's just first submit that. How can I ever fix it? Print. Whoop. So, oops, let's go back here. Did you guys see the difference? I didn't get it quite. So is that the multi-index? Okay, so months and days are kind of like two things. Multi-index. Here, hierarchical index or covering index like multiple appendix essentially allows you to group column or rows by another variable in case amount of days, so it's become measurements. Okay, that makes sense. So pivot duplicate value, let's see. So he already talked about that, so I'm not gonna just go to the detail because I think it's okay. Let's just go to a little bit detail, like just so basically you need to pivot it, but there's some duplicate. So basically, what he said is, hey, like instead of use so you can use like PD pivot table, still use this one, right? And the first you're gonna use you get pivot data equals to the one you get pivot. What are you gonna pivot by the way? Dupe reset index, print down. The dupe, okay. So index is month and day, right? Month and day. Nice and clear. Right? And you get days over here. Right? Columns is the measurement. The column you want to. Why cannot? Column you want to. Basically, the column have a multiple variables names over here. Values obviously is the rating. Okay, here agri-func. I don't remember the slides. What do we here have? Agri-func. Is that like what do we have here? Values, right? Agri-func. NumPy.mean. So it's a NumPy function. You get the mean. So you just pivot that and just like you done set the underscore index. How that works. And then you just go for the head. I think it's not that. see the syntax. Print ahead. Why you want me to copy? I want to print out two head over here. Okay. Okay, let's see. So first you got this, guys. You print it out. So the pivot before index, months, blah blah blah, night, blah blah. It looks okay. So you print it out, and then you re-index that. Where you get the reprinted out. Okay, so it's become measures. Measures kind of like the combined index because the months and days. Okay, that makes sense. And at the end, you print it out again. Choose the original one. So I think the goal is like ask us to compare. So if you compare like the first row, May 1st, 41's ozone, solar is 190, temperature is 67 degree, and wind speed is 7.4 mile per second. So, yep, exactly the same. It's just the orders are different. That's what we got here. All right, next. Beyond meld and pivot. So meld is basically like combine all the variables like in one column, except with each variable have a corresponding value. So you can think about it as a dictionary with the keys and the values. And the pivots is basically change that data frame with a long to a wide, which is tidy data frame. Each column is one variable and each row is one observation. And because sometimes you run into a problem, you have a duplicate index, which is month and day in that case. So you want to have an aggregate function equals to numpy.main to get those two duplicate value as the average. So that's kind of short summary. Let's keep going.
Melding and pivoting are the basic tools needed to reshape and clean data. Another common data problem is when columns contain multiple bits of information. Here's a sample of the tuberculosis data used in the tidy data paper. There are counts of TB for each country, year, sex, and age group. In this example, the sex and age group are two variables stored in the same column. M014 represents males aged 0 to 14, and M1524 stands for males 15 to 24 years old. This is a problem. What we really want is a separate sex column and age group column. First, we need to melt the data down so the sex-age combination is in the same column. To do this, we pass in the data frame we want to melt. In the ID_vars parameter, we pass in the two columns we want to fix as a Python list. The remaining columns will be melted down. Now that we have a single column that represents both the sex and age group, we do a bit of string parsing to separate the variables in their own columns. Again, there's nothing particularly wrong with the original data shape. It is a common way this type of data is reported. But the shape that is used in reporting the case counts is not conducive for analysis because we will not be able to fit a model where age and sex are independent predictors. This is also an example where we are using a reshaping function to help with the data cleaning process. By first melting down the data, we are one step closer to having a tidy and clean data set. I'm going to show you how we can parse out the sex from the sex age column, and you can build on the code to parse out both values. We want to create a new column, sex, that will just be the first character of the sex age column. In order to extract the first character of the column, we specify the column from the data frame we want to parse. We use the str attribute of the column to treat the column as a string. This allows us to use Python slicing syntax with square brackets to slice our string. Since we only want the first character of the string, we pass in the index 0. Since Python is a zero-index language, and we begin counting with 0. This gives us a new column that we call sex, and it just contains the first character of our sex age column. Now it's your turn to fully tidy up this data set.
So first melt, then like a split. So this is in this example, you are going to tidy the M114 columns, which represent the age 0 to 14 age. In order to pass this value, you need to extract the first letter to new column, gender, age group, blah, 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 since you can pass in your string to that object. So TD is a data frame, okay? So let's just like db melt equals to like PD dot melt. We want melt, right? Do we want melt? Split column with string. I think we want melt, right? Let's see. TB. So okay, yeah, we want melt. First is the frame equals to this guy TB and var ID. Man, like what's the syntax? Always forgot. Syntax. Okay, var ID, var value var. Okay. Why don't you give me all the stuff like here? Oh, value since like it's got through all the values. So here you just need to specify what do we have here? Country and year. That's what we're gonna do. So those are the two you gotta hold to constant. Country and year, right? And the mute variable string, like this first one, you want that. And to give the genders 0 and age group equals to tb.melt variable string. How we do the like the rest? Oh my, I don't remember syntax. Yes. Probably not right. One. Good. Good. Split the column from split and get another column with multiple variable are stored in columns with the delimiter. You will know how to deal with such in the example using data constant global in the case that's kind of whatever. Color multicolor variable. Let's first look at this color hand looks like. So man, this is messy. So I assume, let's see, what are we gonna do? Hold using days and the date as the for ID. That's what I saw. Big day and the small day. Font name is basically type country. Variable name. Concept or county. Create a string split column E. coli melt split let's see string split type county, let's see man, I cannot see how it looks like. Let's just use the syntax, right? Like assume there's a dash using the split by dash. Okay, so it's gonna be equal melt So what we can split type country by first need to access that. Variable string zero. Split the type country. How it looks like? I cannot see. How can I split? Let's see. How can I see the? Don't remember. So let's see. You're gonna split that. Create a split. So basically, you can split. No, but that's gonna have such. Yes, you use underscore so rather than between the first part. So that's the second part of the country. Now split. Split. Right. So run this. Seems okay. Seems melted. Okay, here. Here we go. Variables name time country. Now this count. So melt split equals variable dot split. Zeros has no attribute of variable. Can we just do like this? Yeah, no attribute of split. Create a column name the type. String split. How to access variable. Variable string. Variable string and define this. Decola melt. What do you mean? Here. Here. Variable. 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 Okay, let's look at him. I'm not quite sure about this. String attribute. Melt.country. And then you split. Are we talking about like this? Equal amount. Oh, okay. So it's generate. So like by doing this way, like it's generate the list, whichever case and argue. Can we just do like this? And still list. Okay, still list. Good. And then we're just gonna do like equals to equaline melt string split dot first one. Copy and paste this one. Second variable. What the heck? Submit. Good. Okay, concatenate is that let's see. Is that to the second part of this exercise? Tidy do concatenate. Well, I think it's next course. So I think today is done. So I hope you guys enjoying today's episode. And next episode, obviously, we got talking about the concatenate the data, and I think you will be interesting because it's also a part of the data science essential data mangling kind of tool. So today we learned the melt. We learned the melt basically like combine all the variable columns to one column with variable and the corresponding value, like a dictionary key and the values. And then that's a melt. And then you pivot is basically just take that column's variable out, and then for each column have a like each variable and each row is a one observation. It's become back to the tally data. And sometimes when you do that, you still need to do let's say what does that call, like split, to basically get that the value you want after you uh wait, talking about get, did we use get? Let's see the answers. Get over here, so here and here solutions, right? Didn't actually use get. Okay. Oh, okay, string get 0. Basically it's the same. Anyhow, so like you split it up and you sign to them, and then eventually you just got a tidy data kind of data frame. So I just hope you're enjoying, and I see you next episode. Peace.